WATD presents John Paul, the Car Doctor. All things automotive. Have questions? Call or text 781-837-4900. Now, here's John Paul, the Car Doctor.
Well, good Sunday morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. My name's John Paul, the Car Doctor, here to help you with your car problems on this chilly, snowy Sunday morning. Hopefully you're putting up with it okay, sitting inside, having a cup of hot cocoa or hot chocolate or tea or coffee or whatever it is that makes you warm, and just look at the snow from inside the house. Best thing to do. It's New England, so it snows. I am not in New England. You know, people know I'm not in New England. Just to let you know, it's cold where I am. Well, relatively speaking, but not as cold as back up north. Anyway, and I'll be up there soon enough. And our little press association, New England Motor Press Association, is also getting ready for something that I've always enjoyed, which is the official winter vehicle of New England testing, where we look at a bunch of different vehicles and see how they do in New England winter. And this winter, we've had a lot of winter. So a lot of snow. I remember doing this one time. It was a beautiful, 70-degree, weird February day, but not this time. So that's coming up. Always enjoy that, too. With us on the phone is Karl Brauer. He is the iSeeCars.com executive analyst. They've done a bunch of studies lately, including most reliable new cars for the money and America's 10 best-selling used cars and EVs for last year. Karl, good morning and welcome back to the show.
Hey, what's going on, John Paul? Great to be on with you.
First off, let's start. Let's remind people what iSee Cars is all about. It is a giant marketplace for both buyers and dreamers, right?
Yeah, it's a great online resource for anyone who's shopping for a car, new or used, and you can do the filtration on 20 miles around your house or nationwide as far as how far you want to look, and then all the other filtrations: make, model, year, price range, features, anything. And that's just the listing marketplace that you mentioned. And then, of course, there's all the research and consumer guidance that we provide there, too. We are big fans of data. We like to see what trends are going on, and we like to craft that data into helpful stories and guidelines for consumers who are looking for their next vehicle or just wondering what's going on in the car market in general, if they're planning to buy in the next 2 weeks or the next 2 years.
I mean, just looking at the site, and it's a little off topic, but I was just kind of going through some of the studies. And one of them that always comes up is, one of your studies is high supply of leftover inventory signals the best new cars for year-end deals. What happens to the cars that are left over?
Well, mostly, with rare exception, their pricing and value keeps dropping. And if you are ready to buy at the end of the year, which a lot of people aren't, so that adds further to your leveraging and your negotiating power, then you can usually get a better deal on those cars. So, we do our best time of year to buy study every year, and we always consistently see that somewhere between mid-November and end of March is usually the best time to buy, with peaks at given holidays. For instance, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day is a big one. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is another one, because you're just in the, kind of depths of, what you were talking about the show intro, the cold, wintry weather across the country. And most people, maybe they're thinking about bills they just have to pay off from buying holiday things. Maybe they're thinking about trips they've just come back from to visit relatives. Maybe they're just not wanting to go outside because it's cold, or all those things and more. So dealers, they have to get these cars to move. It's harder to get them to move in the winter because it's hard to get people on the lot. So they typically offer better deals. So that's like universal. Now you combine that with it's December 31st or even January 10th, and there's a 2025 model on the lot, which is now technically old because the calendar has flipped to 26. And you go in there and you're like, I know you're not selling many cars, and I know you can't seem to sell this car. So let's talk, Mr. Dealer Man, and you negotiate.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And President's Day or Washington's birthday was always kind of a hyped up car sales day, but mostly myth and not truth, right?
I mean, it's they'll use that as another, blast out. Hey, come on the lot and buy some cars. They'll certainly do that for President's Day, but you can get good deals, really, generally speaking, between say November 1st and March 31st, and President's Day is in the middle of that, and February. So yeah, you can negotiate as well or better on President's Day than you would. And by the way, the flip side is true too. July 4th, Father's Day, these are generally speaking not good times to buy cars because it's the middle of the summer, everyone's thinking road trip, everyone wants to go out and enjoy the outside and take cars and do trips and see the world, and they rush off to buy new cars. Dealers know it, so they don't offer nearly as many compelling deals in the summer as they do in the winter.
So can you explain why it's also a good time to buy a mattress? I'm only kidding, but for some reason it seems to be that right in this time frame as well seems to be all the mattress ads, and I figure it's probably for the same reason. No one wants to go out. Everybody's kind of looking at their house and going, "It's time to buy a mattress." I would
guess there's that whole health thing too. Everyone wants to be healthy for the new year, and they get all their resolutions, and so they're like, "Well, I can't be healthy if I'm not sleeping well. I'll go buy a new bed."
There you go. There you go. So. Most reliable new cars for the money. What are they?
Yeah, so this was a really good study because we basically looked for cars that you can get the most lifespan out of and spend the least for. And we have this ability to kind of predict lifespans for different cars because we've got so much data on cars for so many years. So we can kind of tell what a given make model is going to do in terms of lifespan. And once you have that, then you can just cross that with how much these cars cost, and you start to figure out what's the least per year you're going to pay, right? So if you just make it easy, if you had a car with a 5-year lifespan and it cost $25,000, it cost you $5,000 a year to have that car, obviously. When we look at the entire fleet out there, the average car has an 11-year lifespan and costs about $4,200, $4,251. So that's average because the average new car is about between like $47,000 and $50,000.
Yep.
So you're talking around a $4,000+ annual cost for each car per year for its lifespan. Well, that's average. There's cars that do much better than that, John Paul. For instance, the Honda Civic has a 13.5-year lifespan, so it's longer than the average car, and it costs on average $27,000, not $47,000. So its per year cost is $2,058, or less than half of the average new car's per year cost based on its upfront price and how long it lasts. And that's a pretty good deal, if you can get more life and have half the annual cost to get that additional life. Toyota Corolla, another one, 11.3-year lifespan, still a little more than the average car, and $25,000, even less expensive than the Civic, so it results in a $2,258 annual per year cost. Mazda 3, $2,300 per year, Volkswagen Jetta $2,313, and the Honda Accord $2,489. So those are the top 5. We've got all 25 on our site ranked, but you can obviously see a trend here. What are we seeing here? We're seeing mostly small cars. Well, not surprisingly, small cars, they don't have as much flexibility and as wide a use case as like a big 3-row SUV. And they just cost less to make. There's less material in them. So you can get them for cheaper, but they don't necessarily have a shorter lifespan. So you're just paying less up front, but you're still getting a long lifespan like you would get out of a larger vehicle. So obviously they end up having a natural advantage on these rankings.
We look at this and we kind of look at, Civic, Corolla, Mazda 3, Jetta, even Accord on the list. And, people say, well, nobody's buying sedans anymore, but these are probably the best values out there when you look at both this study and kind of in general and how these vehicles also hold their value, right?
Right, and ownership costs too, don't forget.
Yeah.
Cars are generally less expensive to insure than trucks and SUVs. They get better mileage than trucks or SUVs. Usually their taxation and registration costs plus the lower purchase price obviously adds to less on that side. So you're exactly right, John Paul. We just looked at a single metric. What do these cars cost and what's their predicted lifespan? And these cars get the advantage. Truth is, they get the advantage on ownership costs. They get the advantage on fuel efficiency. they have a lot of advantages over most cars.
Yeah, no, it really is. When you kind of look at it, you go, well, wouldn't it make sense that, if you were looking at reliability, predicted lifespan, which is reliability, overall cost of maintenance and service in general, these would be your top three. There would be the cars you want to buy.
Yes, that's exactly right. And it's ironic, like you said, because they're dying. I mean, the Civic's probably safe because it sells enough. Corolla too.
Yep.
But the Jetta, these are cars that are being canceled. Because they just can't sell enough of them and stuff. And we have a lot of small cars that existed 2, 3, 5 years ago that you can't buy anymore. They're not in the market anymore.
Yeah, it is sort of, you look at that, and sometimes, people say to you, well, I'm looking for something reliable, I'm looking for this, and next thing you know, they go out and they buy a, Ford Expedition, and you're like, well, that wasn't the advice we were talking about. So, yeah. And how about, looking back a couple months ago, 10 best-selling used cars and EVs, what was that study like? What did we see for 2025? What were people buying?
So most popular used cars for 25. You saw what you expect, like F-150s and Silverados and Rams, in terms of just overall. But then when we broke it out by EVs, you just see the cars that have the most market value. So you've got Tesla Model 3 and Model Y, Mustang Mach-E, Volkswagen ID4, and it's interesting because they have a lot of share within that category, but of course they don't have much share across the total car realm. They're just slivers of the total amount of cars that are sold in the used car market on a given year. But the trucks remain popular even on the used car market, just like new. Passenger cars, Camrys, Malibu, which just got canceled, as we know. Corolla, Altima, Civic, those are the top 5 on the sedan side. It's just...
Yeah, it is sort of interesting. Like the study we just looked at really kind of look at consumers and say, this is what you should be getting if you want to try to, save yourself some money, save yourself ownership costs, get something super reliable, and then people go out and buy an F-150 or a Silverado.
Well, spoken like a true car guy in his social circles, right, John Paul? Like, How many of us tell the story where someone comes to us, they're like, I need a car. Well, what kind of car? You can't just tell me you need a car. Tell me what you need to do. Well, I need this and this and this. Oh, well, this would be your car, and this would be a smart thing. And then, 2 weeks later, you get the call out of the blue. Hey, I just bought a such and such. Yeah. That's nothing like the car you said you needed. Yeah, but I went to the dealer lot and I just fell in love with it.
I just bought a 5-year-old Jaguar. I thought it'd be perfect.
Yeah. Exactly. That's a car that's going to cost you nothing to own. Absolutely.
Yeah. No. I always wanted that M3 convertible.
Right.
Yeah. No, it is. Sort of. You're right. You try to help people with the best advice sometimes, and people. It sounds awfully trite and weird to say, but too many people buy with their heart and not with their head when it comes to all kinds of things, and they look at it and you're absolutely right. They just fall in love with whatever it is, and you're like, and everybody's been guilty of it. So, you really can't.
Cars are an emotional purchase, John, aren't they? I mean, they are an emotional purchase. So people don't often think with their brain. They think with their heart.
Yeah, exactly. So, you're out a lot all over the place. We've seen electric vehicles, really popular with early adopters. And they got, where you are out in California, Tesla was, and probably maybe still is, some of the best-selling new vehicles out there. And now EVs are kind of losing favor to plug-in hybrids. Kind of, what are you seeing? Where do you think all of this is going to go?
Well, I think I'm a person who believes that the most sustainable way to sell something is to sell it in a way that the market supports. And I don't think that the market supported the level of EV sales that a lot of the regulators wanted. And we can talk about why you should be buying EVs, but we just said people buy with their heart, not their brain.
Right.
So you can tell someone all day long why they're supposed to buy an EV, and then when they go see a really cool internal combustion vehicle, they go buy it. And range anxiety remains a big problem for electric vehicles. But if you buy a hybrid, or even better, a plug-in hybrid, now you're using it like an electric vehicle for, depending on what you're doing and how far you drive, some percentage, maybe even a very high percentage time. But there's no range anxiety, and you can still go where you need to go without having to worry about the charging infrastructure not being up to par with gasoline and gas stations. And I'm a big believer in, you pick a diet that you can stick to. You pick a workout regimen that you'll follow. You sell cars that are supposed to reduce carbon footprints that you can sell to more than, 8%, give or take 8% of the population, with incentives in place, and about half that when they go away, as we've seen over the last 6 months. And if you sold a whole bunch of hybrids and plug-in hybrids to a whole bunch of people, you'd end up cutting the carbon footprint of our car fleet much more than selling electric vehicles only to 4 or 5 or 6% of the population. So I think plug-in hybrids and hybrids have a lot more promise long-term for sales, at least until we get to battery technology that charges in 10 minutes, which they're talking about, and goes hundreds and hundreds of miles, and also an infrastructure that can support that.
Yeah. No, it is, and I still feel that right now we're sort of in the second golden age of the automobile. I think right now consumers have more choice than they've ever had. If they want an EV, go buy an EV. If they want a plug-in hybrid, go in and buy a plug-in hybrid. They want to buy, something with a big gas engine in it, it's available for them. So there is, I think, for consumers now, we're in a time of really good choice, right?
100%. And that's why, it's going to be much more sustainable if we let the market decide and we let people buy. And if electric vehicles can keep getting more compelling in terms of range and cost and charge time, and the infrastructure can keep getting more supportive in terms of travel, beyond the radius of your house where your level 2 charger is, then the market will go to electric vehicles. They do have a really quiet, refined drive. They're very torquey and quick, and they have fewer parts to break. So in theory, they are the more long-term advantageous vehicle, but the reality is that they aren't right now.
Yeah, and, when you see things like, the ID Buzz, which was, the cutest EV on the market, I suppose, and that's going away. The idea is, that as, the Volkswagen minivan was so iconic, and everybody, looks at them and gasps when they see one, but it didn't sell.
Right. And isn't that kind of, the bottom line, right? We can sit around bemoaning why this car should sell better and that car shouldn't sell as well as it does, and then we can face the market reality and demand from consumers. And it'd be great if car companies didn't have to make money and they could sell what we're supposed to buy, or at least push what we're supposed to buy indefinitely. But Volkswagen's closed its first domestic assembly plant in the history of the company in the past 6 months because they were in such financial dire straits. And, of course, the Chinese are storming a lot of the global markets with their cars. They've got all the resources for rare earth metals tied up, meaning they can produce batteries far cheaper than any other country, and that gives them a massive cost advantage on electric vehicles. And not to mention some of their other policies in that country that gives them some advantages that I don't think we'd like in this country if we were supposed to try to compete. So whenever I hear someone say, why aren't we competing with China? I want to tell them it's like, because if we did, you wouldn't like this country very well. I'm betting you don't want to lose labor unions, and you don't want to lose minimum wage, and you don't want to lose medical coverage, and you don't want to lose overtime, because those things don't really exist in China. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, I try not to talk politics, but you kind of have to look at, Canada's not bringing a ton of Chinese cars to market, like 50,000 a year or some Chinese EVs. I think it'll be nice if you're up in sort of the northern states, you might get to see a Chinese electric car you've never seen before, which is always kind of fun.
Yeah, and now they can get a taste for them and see how good they are or not, and see how well they hold up over time or not. There's still a lot of questions. we still don't know things like long-term durability of Chinese cars. We know that because they haven't been around long enough to know that. So there's still some questions there. And again, I was just saying how I'm a big free market guy, and a lot of people would say, well, if Chinese cars are cheaper and better, then the free market says we should be buying them. Well, it's not really a free market the way they're producing them in China. You know, the government's totally aligned with all the car industry over there. Again, they've locked up all the resources to produce batteries globally and stuff. So it's not really a free market when they're coming in with cars that cost $40,000 that would be costing us, $80,000 to recreate. So
Yeah, absolutely. So people want to learn more, iSeeCars.com. Go to the research section. You want to do some shopping. You can shop around. You want to you have the VIN app as well. You have the so you can look up a little bit more history about the vehicles and look at some of the things that you and your folks have all put together. A lot of these studies, they're interesting. And if people want to find out a little bit more about you, you're podcasting now, right?
Yeah. So now I'm doing The Drive with Lauren and Karl. We were fortunate enough to kind of transition into a radio show that's been around since the early 90s. It was The Drive with Alan Taylor.
Alan Taylor,
We're on 80 radio stations across the country. Plus, our YouTube channel recreates the same thing, and you can see us as well as listen to us. And then they all go into a podcast form. So, and then I've got my personal YouTube site, YouTube channel, Karl Brauer Cars, where I just had a Lamborghini Temerario, and that's going to be up there soon. We just put up or this Monday I'll be an Aston Martin Vantage S. So a lot of fun cars going up on there too.
Well, it sounds like you're still having a good time, although it sounds like you're working a lot more, though.
I spent Saturday yesterday editing that Aston Martin Vantage story and producing the Forbes tech story to go with it. So you have to love what you do, or at least I do, because I have to do it probably 6 to 7 days a week minimum. So.
All right. Hey, always a pleasure, Karl, talking with you, finding out what's up with the market and kind of learning about things. And for our listeners, well, go listen to the podcast, go look at the YouTube channel, but still keep listening to the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD.
Absolutely.
Karl, always a pleasure. Thanks for taking some time out of your Sunday morning and joining us on the Car Doctor program. John
Paul, always fun talking to you and talking cars. You guys take care.
All right, take care. Why don't we take a break, pay some bills? My name's John Paul. This is the Car Doctor program. You're listening on 95.9 WATD. When we come back, we'll talk about some of the questions that came in this week. I got some really interesting ones. And if you want to talk to us, our phone number is 781-837-4900, 781-837-4900. Phone lines are open. Give us a call, and we'll talk to you about your car problems. We'll be right back.
Even car geeks and do-it-yourselfers rely on AAA to give them extra peace of mind on the road. AAA offers 24/7 roadside assistance, whether you're in your own vehicle, a friend's car, or even a rental. Combine that with great rates on insurance, hotel, gas, and dining savings, and discounts on 8,700 brands, and you're covered on and off the road. Get a special membership offer today at AAA.com/join. That's AAA.com/join.
All right, this next part of the Car Doctor is brought to you by the South Shore YMCA. Get out of the house and get active. The South Shore YMCA has mental and physical wellness plans for all ages and abilities. Start your wellness journey today at ssymca.org/join.
Start the new year at the South Shore YMCA, the something for everyone place. Whether you're there to lift, stretch, swim, or simply connect, you'll find more than just a gym. You'll find a community.
Parents can recharge while kids dive into swim lessons, sports, and activities. Young adults can build strength in group classes or with personal training. And older adults can stay active and engaged in a welcoming space.
At the South Shore Y, you'll find a fitness center that feels like home, people that keep you moving, and on-site babysitting that gives you time to focus. From individual goals to shared experiences, the South Shore Y is where friendships form, routines stick, and wellness grows. and it's all waiting for you to get started.
Make the South Shore YMCA your place for fitness, friendship, and fresh starts. Become a South Shore YMCA member today. Check out their virtual tours at ssymca.org/join.
Get ready for the South Shore's best dad and daughter duo in the building business, the Bethany Builders Podcast on WATD. Each week, the Bethany Builders crew, Chris Bethany, Steve Burton, Christian Fourier, and Sophia Bethany discuss ongoing building and remodeling projects, sports, fun, and more. Listen live or watch them on the Bethany Builders YouTube or Facebook page. The Bethany Builders Podcast is sponsored by Bethany Builders of Duxbury, Koopman Lumber, and Trex Decking. Tuesday nights at 7 on 95.9 WATD. Honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. He's John Paul, the Car Doctor, on 95.9 WATD.
And welcome back to the Car Doctor program. Our phone number again, 781-837-4900. Let's talk to Tom in Kingston. Tom.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You're missing all the fun up here, but you're getting a little taste of it down
We're
there.
The heat's been on a lot down here, and I can't wait to see my electric bill. It should be fantastic. We don't fully shut down our little place up north, so the gas bill's been pretty high too. So, getting hit with utility bills on both ends here.
So I get a phone call from my neighbor across the way. Well, back in 2015, it feels like 20,000 years ago.
Yeah,
we had the very bad snowstorms and everything else, and we lost power a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, you know what, enough is enough. I invested in a generator. You get the Generac generator to do the whole house.
Oh, like the whole house one, yeah?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
The days of going out there, getting gasoline, putting it in the portable and pulling the cord and get the wires out. I said, you know what, I'm going to splurge. We were taught always to save for retirement. And somebody said to me, well, you know what, you're at the retirement age. It's okay to spend it now. It's like, good point. They say, well, we're supposed to leave it for our kids. And they said to me, how much does your parents leave you? So you think of things like that. So my neighbor calls up the other day, and he says, my generator went to do the once a week, you know how it starts up, and it's really all the moisture and stuff like that, recharges the battery. It shut off after 1 minute. And he found out why. It's because the air vents were blocked.
Oh, okay.
Snow.
Yep.
I guess if it doesn't get enough oxygen, it shuts down.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yep. So we went outside and checked our generator because mine comes on Tuesday. His comes on Monday. So Tuesday in the morning, my neighbor next to me, his comes on at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Mine's at 10 o'clock in the morning. So went out there and cleared that away. So think of other things besides our cars, as far as starting up.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point because I was looking at someone's generator in a, I don't know, it was probably a 5-year-old Ram chassis, like one of those small motorhome things, and it wouldn't run correctly, and it was sort of the same thing. Whoever had it prior used the generator cabinet for storage, and they had something stuck in there, and it was blocking some of the airflow. And it would start up, but it would start up and it would sort of run weird, and thought at first it was going to need a carburetor. Come to find out it was something somebody had stuck in there. So yeah, you're absolutely right. If you're blocking airflow, it's not going to work right. So whether you have one of those very efficient furnaces or water heaters, or in your case, a generator, you want to make sure all the intakes and exhausts are clear so it can operate the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, you don't want to find out what if you lose power. You want that sucker to kick in.
Right.
You don't want to go out there in the storm and say, wonder why it's not working. Not the time.
Yeah. No, especially if you're, looking at, it's one thing to say, in the wintertime it's not so much of an issue, but, you're like, oh, my refrigerator's not working. But it's another thing to be cold. So, having a little bit of heat in the house, or the ability to run some heat, I can see why people have generators. Absolutely. I know both here and up north. I'm seeing more and more generators like the ones you described showing up in people's property, and just for that reason, they want the security of knowing if the power goes out, they're going to be all set.
I went to WATD's website to look up your podcast for your show, and it came up error 404. I don't know whose end that is.
Well, that could be. Well, I'm not sure what that's pointing to, and I actually don't know. And maybe Jesse knows. Jesse, do you know who takes care of the links on the website?
That I don't know.
No, you don't know. Because I changed podcast hosts now. You can still find the podcast if you search Spotify or iTunes.
I want to hear last week's show.
Yeah.
How do I find it?
Yeah, you would just go to iTunes or Spotify and look for Car Doctor Radio, and the latest one is if you're looking for the episodes, it's a cartoon version of me, I guess, instead of an actual picture of me, because that was the only way I could identify. What happened, this is kind of way in the weeds, but I used a storage site called Podbean, and it was fine. It worked good. But I had trouble renewing it. They wouldn't take a credit card, whatever. So Spotify has a free hosting site. So now it's on Spotify. And it should end up on all the normal sites. Like I said, iTunes and all that stuff. I'll repost it on my Facebook page too, just so people know. But yeah, it shouldn't, if you normally look on iTunes or any of those major podcast sites, you should be able to find it. Look for a cartoon version of me, and that's the latest. That's the latest version. So there you go.
Wow! This way I could have the kids watch at the same time.
Well, you could, other than the cartoon doesn't move. But yeah.
Listen, have a great.
All right. Thanks, Tom.
Good talking to you. Bye bye.
Yep. Our phone number is 781-837-4900, 781-837-4900. Like I said, I got some sort of interesting emails from readers and listeners this week, and one of them had to do with a car that I guess I have driven it once upon a time, and the person, it's an Alfa Romeo, and it's a hybrid, and they happen to have a 2024, and she says, I'm a car geek, but only in that I love all things powered by motors, or engines, I suppose. Just witnessing and reading about them as in your column, not building or maintaining them. I am leasing a 2024 Alfa Romeo Tonale Veloce hybrid, my first luxury car ever, and I love it. I see that it has very small, hardly discernible orange spots all over the body, only visible because the car is white. I buffed them out until they were gone. A few weeks or maybe months later, they were back again. The dealership service center guy said they are from brake dust coming from other cars on the road and recommended Iron X or a clay bar, but the spots cannot be removed permanently. Any thoughts on this? The idea that coming from brake dust from other cars sounds weird. I suspect, and I don't know this because I don't know how this vehicle is transported, but it sounds like rail dust. And rail dust is just what it sounds like. Train wheels are iron or steel or whatever they're made out of, and they're on an iron track. And little pieces of rusty dust, which is also quite hot, flake off and end up on the vehicle. So unless this Alfa is transported inside a enclosed car or rail car, or not stored near a railway station or freight yard, it sounds like this could be hot metal dust that's sort of impregnated into the paint. I remember seeing this with Toyota vehicles years ago when I was at Toyota Arbiter, and people would come in with white Toyota and Lexus vehicles, and they would have these little fine dust spots. And you can get some cleaners. There's a company called Sonax, S-O-N-A-X, iron and fallout remover, and it does a pretty good job of getting rid of it. It impregnates into the clear coat. The iron does. There's something else called Iron-X, which can work. I've seen other cases where it was enough where the car actually had to be sanded down and re-clear coated to get rid of the dust. Again, the idea that it's coming from brake dust from other vehicles, then why don't all white cars have it? So that doesn't make sense to me. I suspect it has something to do with when this vehicle was originally transported, and when you clean it up, it doesn't remove it, but it removes the oxidation. So now it's not rusty anymore, and it looks like just metallic part of the paint. And then over time, the paint gets rusty looking again. That's my thought on it. I don't know, but I've seen rail dust cause some weird stuff, and that's one of them. My husband and I are having a disagreement about gasoline. Is there a difference, as he claims, between top-tier brands of gasoline and lower tier, as he calls them? I feel all brands are the same, and I will stop at any station to fill the tank. So who will you side with? Yeah, there is a difference, top-tier fuel and non-top-tier fuel. Top-tier fuel has, which is in all grades, it's not just premium, it's 87 on up, has more additives, and it keeps the engine combustion chambers clean and free of carbon buildup. Top-tier fuel has a overall cleaning effect. So even if you don't use it all the time, it has a benefit. As an example, I don't go to top-tier stations all the time because there's not one that's super convenient to me, but I go to where the cheap gas is. But then once a month or so, when I need to fill up again, Citgo, as an example, near me has top-tier gas, so I go over there and fill up with top-tier. So in that case, it does help keep the engine clean. So it looks like I am siding with your husband. Hope that doesn't cause an issue. Let's go to Doug in Weymouth. Doug, good morning.
Good morning. I have two questions.
Sure.
Pretty good yourself, John?
I'm doing good.
I have two questions. I recently purchased a Honda CR-V hybrid 2026, and it doesn't come with a spare tire, which, I have a level of concern about. It just comes with that, they run with the run flat tires and then a kit that you use. And
right.
So I was given some consideration to perhaps purchasing, at a junkyard or salvage yard, a spare tire and keeping it in the event, for a long trip or something. Putting it, obviously it occupies space, and in a perfect world they would have allowed for, but I know it's, given, to, mileage issues as well as, the space occupied by the, hybrid components and whatnot. So what's your opinion on that?
Well, I got to tell you, I'm sort of in the same camp as you. I like having a spare tire, even if it's a mini spare. Something that if I'm out driving around and I hit a pothole and I blow out a tire, or put a big gash in a tire, well, the spare tire inflation kit isn't going to do anything for me. Now, it's where it is handy, say, and I'll use either me or my wife, if she came out of a store or I came out of a store and I noticed the tire was almost flat, and you could go to the spare tire kit and you could air up that tire, maybe not even use the sealant that comes in that kit, but just use a little compressor to air it up. And then you could have a fully inflated tire and head over to a tire store to get it repaired. That's a whole lot easier than jacking up the car and taking the spare out. But in the worst case, when you do hit something or you hit a big piece of metal in the road or whatever the case is, and the tire's ruined, well, now you got nothing. You don't have a spare. Getting a spare tire, jack, and lug wrench from a junkyard can make sense. A lot of people have told me about a company called modernspare.com. It's MODERN spare.com. And it is, they sell complete spare tire kits, and they're sort of skinnier, lighter weight spares. And even on something like your all-wheel drive SUV, it's fine as a temporary replacement. Now, they're not cheap. I mean, you're going to spend, I don't know, probably $500 or something for it.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
But it doesn't take up quite as much room. And some of these vehicles that don't have spares, once you take out all the styrofoam and stuff that's back there, like where you would expect the spare to be, some of them actually have enough room to put a spare in. So, it's generally every electric vehicle I've ever been in, and a lot of hybrids don't have spare tires. And if I was taking a long trip, that would worry me. Now, if you think back if you kind of look back on your life and you go, how many times have I really had a flat tire out in the road that couldn't be fixed? It probably isn't that often. So if you think of that, and you think of, what other part in your car other than the fuse box actually has a spare anything? Nothing really. I mean, your fuel pump can go bad, your battery can go bad, there's all kinds of stuff can go bad. But I still like the idea of a spare tire. I mean, maybe that's just me being old-fashioned.
Yeah, I mean, Murphy's Law, you could take it to the bank that if it happened, it's probably going to happen on a Sunday or, a holiday where, there's no, help available on a timely basis anyway,
right.
Right. And so you're kind of, like a fish out of water with respect to that. And finally, just one last question, if I could, with respect to, given the technology and, the sophistication, the infotainment systems in these new vehicles and everything, I know that ordinarily most folks poo-poo extended warranties, but what's your opinion now of, these extended warranties through the, not third party, through the respective, whether it be Toyota or Honda?
Yeah. And this is where I always feel a smidge uncomfortable because AAA actually sells extended warranties. But if I was going to buy an extended warranty, I would buy it from the factory, Honda, Toyota, whatever the case is, because you always know they're going to be around. I would also only buy one from AAA because I know I've been there for 40-odd years, and we've gone through a couple of warranty companies, but we always stand behind it if the company went out of business. I worry about these other ones where, I see, celebrities hawking warranties, and I'm like, well, first off, that costs a lot to do that, and I don't know that if I saw, Danica Patrick telling me I should have an extended warranty, I don't think she really needs to worry about that. It's like, so yeah, if I was going to get one, and it really depends on the vehicle, like where your vehicle's brand new, I would sort of let it go through the 3 years factory warranty, probably your engine is 5 years maybe, and see what the car's like. If the car's been solid for the time you've had it, I don't know that I'd spend the money on a extended warranty. If it's not feeling that way, if it's like, geez, there's a lot of technology and sophistication in this car, I've had to bring it back because the infotainment system got weird, or the climate control's not working the way it should, then maybe it might make some sense. Because right now, kind of across the country, I'm seeing labor rates in dealerships up to $265 an hour. So
exactly.
It can go, your money can go pretty fast at a dealership.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny, they trumpet, the reliability and dependability of these vehicles, when you're going through the, purchase consideration process. Mm-hmm. And then ultimately, once you pull the trigger and, make the decision, and then they start telling you, well, geez, these parts aren't made by Honda or Toyota, right, and everything, and these things are extremely complex, and to repair them and diagnose them, it costs if this goes and that goes. So it's kind of you feel caught between a rock and a hard place, and it's kind of and I don't know how they can on one hand, these cars stake their reputation, a lot of them, whether it be the, like you were mentioning with your prior guest there, the Toyota Corolla and the Honda Civic and everything, on their reliability. And then yet they push these extended warranties. But you're right, the dealership labor rates are astronomical. And, to get, your spark plugs changed now, or, just even an oil change now, the cost of oil and everything, it's not like it used to be, so
I don't know.
Eclipse.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to the $60 car battery or the $3 spark plug, because, car batteries are $200 to $400, it seems like. And spark plugs, the last spark plug I bought was $17. Those things are even going up. While we were talking, I looked up your spare tire on this modern spare kit. Again, I don't know anything about them other than people have told me they're pretty good. They're fully outfitted thing that comes with a jack, a high torque lug wrench. It says here custom carrying case, which is also good for storage. It says, it's $500. So, would $500, spending $500 make you feel better on a long trip? Maybe. I don't know. And it's if you are junkyard shopping, it appears as if it's the same wheel pattern for 2020 through 2026. So, and the CRV and the CRV hybrid use the same wheel. So you might be able to go out and find a wheel and a jack and a lug wrench, or some parts of all of those in that 5 or 6 year range. So you might be able to do it a little bit cheaper. I don't know, $75 for a spare tire out of a junkyard maybe. So you could probably do it
right, because the way I kind of view it and equate it is, that $500 is probably the cost of 2 full-size tires. It exceeds the cost. That's the reality.
I mean, the only thing I will say about this company, and again, I'm not hawking the company here. They use a 18-inch wheel, and it's on a 155/90 tire. So it has the same rolling diameter as whether it's a 17, 19, 20, or 21-inch wheel. It's basically the same overall diameter. So whether your car's whatever wheel size, theirs is going to fit.
19.
But in theory, you should be able to use any one of those, because they're going to be the 17-inch wheel is going to just have more tire. The 21-inch wheel is going to have more wheel and less tire. But they're all going to be the same height. So they're all going to work. So. Just something to think about.
Well, it certainly, it is. And I said to myself, even if ultimately, say if you were local, you say, well, gee whiz, I keep it in, my basement, garage, and then you could have, your wife, bring it to you in the event that you did break down. But on a long trip, you'd certainly want to have it with the vehicle, and a lot of these SUVs. You have the option of, putting down the back seats and, to kind of compensate for what you'd lose. These,
the companies that have done away with spare tires have done away with them for cost. They've done away with them because it's an easy 50 to 75 pounds of weight savings, and they've done away with for space. So, could they have, built the cargo compartment in that a little bit taller so you could squish a spare tire under there? Sure, they could have. But on the other hand, if you're trying to maximize fuel economy and you go, what can we get rid of that's heavy? Oh, let's get rid of the spare tire. It's easy, and it saves us money at the same time. So
Sure. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your insight.
All right, thanks for calling in. All right,
take care.
Take care. 781-837-4900 is our number. Let's go to John in Marshfield, and then we'll take a break. John, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, hi. I have a question. I'm interested in electrification, but like millions of others, I'm looking at hybrid because of the range anxiety and the practicality. And I know that Lexus Toyota has bulletproof reliability, but what do you think of the Lexus sedan, the new one, the 2026 ES hybrid? For someone with those concerns, I'm wondering, do you think that that's a safe bet, a good bet?
It's kind of funny. Like Karl was saying with IC cars earlier in the program, if you want the ability to get, better fuel economy, if you care about things like the environment, you want to lower your carbon footprint, a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid is going to do all those things for you. The pure EV makers are going to say, well, that's a dumb idea because now you have the complexity of a gasoline engine combined with the somewhat simplicity of an electric engine, electric motor. But, an electric motor isn't that simple when you have to run a bunch of, controllers through it as well as battery management systems. But you're also kind of doubling up on that. But, if I was looking at a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid, would I look at a Lexus? Yeah, absolutely, because you're getting an engine that's been well tested in other vehicles combined with, their electric motor technology, which they've been, Honda technically, if you look at recent years, Honda technically with the Insight was probably the first electric vehicle, but the Prius was really the first one that worked well. And
it's interesting that both Toyota and Lexus are basically moving to a situation where you're not going to be able to get ICE vehicles. The Camry is now hybrid.
Yep.
The Lexus, the one I'm looking at right now, your choice is hybrid or electric, full electric.
Yep.
I guess the complexity is what concerns me. When I see what this thing does every time you stop and start, I just see something that more complexity, the more chance of a problem. Is that an unreasonable thought?
As I was yelling at my laptop this morning, yes.
Right.
I mean, whenever you add layers of technology on top of each other, it's going to be an issue. For the first 7 to 10 years, is it going to be an issue? Probably not. But how I was talking to a guy.
And they're going to back it up. So that's the thing. The powertrain warranty is very good. Like, for example, a hybrid, if you go Hyundai, it's 10 years. So
10 years.
It's not that. Like, I don't want to be bringing this thing back and forth. A thing that's underrated is going back and forth to the dealer is not a lot of fun, even if it's covered, right?
No. I was talking to a guy who I happened to be outside, and he pulled up in a 1979 Ford F-100 pickup truck. And the idea that thing, 6-cylinder, 3-speed manual on the column, it's his everyday driving car. And you look at that and you're like, that vehicle is 47 years old. Will a 47-year-old Lexus ES hybrid, how will that perform?
It won't be. It'll be nowhere near.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's something I discovered, and I'd be curious if this is consistent with what you believe and know. You talked about the China market and our market.
Mm-hmm.
Do you realize that with Lexus, which, by the way, is now has the oldest demographic of the luxury brands and is very concerned that its audience is dying, they're coming with a radically new design that doesn't even look like a Lexus, the one I'm talking about, the 2026, of which there's no ICE version. And here's what I found out. They said, well, why would they do that when people love the Lexus design? And they said, because that's what China wants. And I'm like, these are cars you're building for sale, your main brand in the United States, because China likes it. And you're thinking, that can't be. Well, guess what? The Lexus ES sells 35,000 units in the United States. It sells 100,000 units in China.
Yeah.
What China wants is what they're going to sell for us.
Yep.
I find that kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is. Hey, John, we got to get going. We got to take a break, but thanks. Very insightful.
Okay, great. Thanks.
All right, take care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. We did take another break. You're listening to the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. We'll be right back.
Life is keeping you busy. From work to getting the kids to their activities, there seems to be less and less time for a good home-cooked meal. Time for Bonji's. Delicious and healthy. Bonji's has a selection that everyone in the family will love. Pick up the kids' favorite, Bonji's freshly fried chicken with potato wedges and coleslaw, or a stuffed roasted chicken served with gravy and your choice of homemade mashed potatoes, squash, or fresh green beans. They make their own chicken and turkey salads. Pop in the oven fresh frozen turkey pies, chili, and and flavor-filled spaghetti sauce. And of course, there's Bonji's classic turkey dinners. They've been a favorite on the South Shore for almost 65 years. Bonji's will have it piping hot right out of the oven and waiting for you, complete with stuffing and gravy. Bonji's makes dinner easy and convenient, and you know that you're giving your family healthy, delicious meals. No steroids, no artificial preservatives. Make it a Bonji's night. Route 53 in Duxbury and online at BONGIS.com. Bonji's.
The James Library and Center for the Arts in Norwell is pleased to invite you to the 7th Annual Spring Juried Art Show. The exhibition begins on Friday, March 27th with an opening reception from 6 to 8 p.m. and features artists of all levels and art of all mediums. Viewing of the gallery will be open through April 25th during regular library business hours. Admission is free for the public. Applications for the Spring Juried Art Show are open now and will close on March 2nd. To apply online, visit jameslibrary.org. The juror for this year's art show is Nancy Gruskin. It's the 7th Annual Spring Juried Art Show at the James Library and Center for the Arts, located at 24 West Street in Norwell. And keep your car in tip-top shape at Joseph's Garage. Have your oil changed, tires checked, get an inspection sticker, or just gas at Joseph's Garage, right down the street from the James in Norwell. Joseph's Garage now offers Gulf Pay at their pumps.
Hi, I'm Danielle Pedrera with Mass Audubon, working to protect the nature of Massachusetts for people and for wildlife. On Saturday, February 7th, celebrate the magic of the season at Winterfest at North River Wildlife Sanctuary in Marshfield. Meet live raptors, join a guided walk on sanctuary trails, warm up by the fire pit with s'mores, and so much more. Get the details and register at massaudubon.org/North River Winterfest.
Hey there, folks. It's Quinn Kelly reminding you to tune in Sunday night at 5 for the South Shore's first voice in sports talk radio, The Sports Exchange. Unmatched coverage of local high school action as well as a relatable voice on all things Boston Pro Sports. We've got you covered live at 5 every Sunday night. Have a question for our host, missed last week's show, or just want to share a great sports story? You can find us on Twitter at SE on WATD. But remember, mark your calendar, folks, and we'll see you Sunday night at 5 for the Sports Exchange on 95.9 WATD.
Honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. He's John Paul, the Car Doctor, on 95.9 WATD.
And welcome back to the Car Doctor program. I want to thank Karl Brauer from icycars.com. Check out his, just Google his name. It's spelled with a K, K-A-R-L. Next week we'll be talking to Alex Quanton from U.S. World and News Report. Week after, we're going to be talking to a guy who has a company that sells online information for your vehicle at a very reasonable price. So a lot of good stuff. Till next week, make sure you wear your seatbelt, drive safely, be good to your car, and if you do see an emergency vehicle by the side of the road, slow down or move over. It saves lives. Talk to you all next week. Bye-bye.